Good afternoon. My name is Zetania, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Drug Rebate Expert Call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. I would now like to turn the call over to Mr. Steve Valiquette. Sir, you may begin your conference.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Stephen Valiquette, the Healthcare Services Analyst here at Barclays. I'm also joined by my colleague, Jeff Meacham, the Biopharmaceuticals Analyst here at Barclays. And today we're going to explore several topics related to branded drug rebates in the U.S. market. And I'm pleased to have 2 experts on our call today. First is Michael Jacobs, whom I've known for quite a long time. First from his days as a pharmacy benefits expert at Mercer and also at Buck Consultants, but more recently at Express Scripts as a VP of Managed Care Sales. Also pleased today to introduce Art Shin, who's also a former principal at Mercer. He was the co-leader of the core managed care or managed pharmacy group consulting on PBM services, the national employers and health plans at Mercer. Now, as before, he founded Managed Pharmacy Consultants, LLC, which provides similar consulting services to employers. So, gentlemen, welcome to the call today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a minor correction, Steve. Express was before the consulting. I'm currently doing health plan consulting with solid benefit guidance.
Yep, that is correct. Okay, thanks for the clarification there.
Sorry.
Just 1 or 2 other quick housekeeping items here. First, today's format is going to be Q&A. I have about a dozen questions that I want to go through. Jeff Meacham will also have some questions. We'll kind of toggle back and forth a little bit. Then at the end of that, we will check the phone line for any audience questions, but based on history, there aren't too many participants that way. So I think more importantly for everyone on the line, if you do want to email us any questions, for me it's steve.valiquette@barclays.com, or to Jeff Meacham, we can anonymously ask questions on your behalf as well. So I guess to just get things kicked off here, perhaps we'll start with Michael on question number 1. First on the HHS proposal from a couple days ago. The primary component of this new proposal seems to be to remove the safe harbor that protects rebates flowing from manufacturers to Part D plan sponsors and or the PBMs that represent those Part D plans. But the proposal is, from my point of view, I would say fairly scant on the replacement component of that, where they seem to be sort of hoping that there would be a shift of rebates to the point of sale, or maybe just sort of a hope and pray that manufacturers will just reduce their list prices over time. So I want to start with kind of that high-level view of the proposal on what its intent is, but also how they plan to have sort of a step 2 to this, to avoid actually having some large escalation of overall drug spending in the U.S. Maybe we'll just start there and we'll flip it over to Michael.
Stephen, it's incredibly interesting to me. I've read this over a couple of times. If we're going to exclude the safe harbors for some of the rebates and some of the other things that go on, there's a huge pool of money that just, in my mind, is not going to have to go into the system anymore. With that in mind, we can take the HIV drugs, for example, and I know the prices are coming down on those, but you've got very competitive marketplace, 30, 40, 50, 60% rebates, depending who you talk to, on a therapy that costs tens of thousands of dollars a year. So for a Med D patient where you've got an out-of-pocket maximum in that range of $5,000, you give them the $5,000 as a point-of-sale rebate, what happens to the rest of the money? And there's a whole category of medications where this is going to happen, any of the biologicals and things like that. It's just not addressed here in anything that I have read up to this point in time. Now, if we're going to take that, now we're going to create new safe harbors, and this says the proposal would create a new safe harbor protection for fixed fee service arrangements between manufacturers and PBMs. This kind of got my attention for a couple of reasons. The fixed fee arrangements could be group purchasing organization fees, which already exist in today's world, could be 5% of WAC, wholesale acquisition. We have data management fees. We have a number of others. And then who's going to administer these point-of-sale rebates and account account for the revenue that's going out, and report it back. Those are the things actually that I haven't seen here, and I haven't seen that second stage fill in. When it comes to the pharmaceutical manufacturers willingly lowering prices or eliminating some of the inflation that's existed, I'm skeptical.
Okay. Art, I know it's kind of an open-ended first question, but curious to get your thoughts on this as well.
Well, I think the overall general idea is good, but as Michael's mentioned, it's not really played out yet. My big concern, and I've talked to some of my healthcare plans that actually are involved in the Med Part D and in the Medicare, and they're rebate junkies. They love the rebate checks. These rebate checks offset the premiums. And if they're not receiving the rebate checks and the rebate doesn't come back, they only have one choice but to increase the premiums. So at the very end, is the patient going to gain anything? Is this going to be transparent? They're going to be taking it out of one hand and giving it in another? I'm not sure that there's going to be any benefit. It all depends on whether the pharmaceutical companies are going to decrease the price of the drugs. And are they going to decrease the price of the drugs if they're still paying administrative fees and if they're still paying rebates? Where's the incentive for them to decrease the price of the drug? So that is, how I see it. I think, and to administer the point of sale rebate, is it going to be equal or a certain percentage, or is it going to depend upon the class of drug or the specific drug based upon the drug's cost? Certainly, there needs to be some, benefit, a higher benefit for those patients that are at a higher drug spend than for those that have a very little drug spend. So, as has been stated before, this was said by, let me read you the quote here, by the FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb. Sick people aren't supposed to be subsidized and they're healthy. So we have to figure out how these rebates are going to be paid out to the individual patients at the point of sale.
Okay.
I think Art brings up a really good point. When we take a look also in the Med D plans, one of the advantages of getting a higher quality rating, a higher star rating, is the retention of a higher percentage of the rebate revenue that's generated by the plan, historically used to either improve quality or lower premium. What's going to happen?
I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
To further elaborate, some of the health plans that I spoke to yesterday and earlier this morning are very, very concerned about this. They feel that it will absolutely change their operations to a point where it's not going to be in the patient's best interest. And that was said by the director, medical director, and operational director of 2 or 3 of my health plans.
Okay. Michael, do you want to continue on the point you were going to make, or you guys want to go to the next question?
It actually leads into the next question. If we take a look at the 4- and 5-star plans that are retaining a higher percentage of their rebates, this money is being invested in many times in lower premiums so that you can get more membership and grow your plan.
Right.
I think that's a risk that we just need to look at a little bit more effectively here. I don't think it's addressed in any way, shape, or form. Raising the premium on the healthy to pay for the sick is what insurance is all about, or at least having everyone contribute to cover the health care expenses. Does this disincentivize individuals, and does this disincentivize the plans from offering higher quality programs?
Right. That's a big issue that is at risk here with this.
Okay. Yeah, so at the end of the day, the next question I was going to sort of tie it into is, it seems like the way it's set up right now, you'd probably have, some sort of increase in Part D premiums, and who knows how much the profitability would change on these from the Part D plan sponsor point of view. Obviously they want to offset any, rebates they're no longer getting, but also how do you think seniors would even respond to the increase? Would you see some sort of shrinkage of, Part D membership or enrollment? Do you think that would slow down or even shrink? Would eligible convert to maybe Medicare Advantage instead? I'm just curious to get your thoughts on that as well.
I think that's potentially possible. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Art. I'll go ahead and you're done.
I think that's certainly a possibility that will happen here with the seniors. When they see an increase in the premiums that they're getting, they're going to look for other alternatives and have an incentive to look at other alternatives. And Medicare Advantage is one of the alternatives that they might go into if it's possible and available in their area.
Okay. Maybe before we talk about this from the manufacturer point of view, I think probably one of the biggest questions we get from investors, more on the healthcare services side, and really, well, maybe both sides. But at the end of the day, the question is, could this spill over into the commercial market? And there's language in this HHS proposal that says they're trying to protect that and have it pertain only to to Medicare and Medicaid and not into commercial. But just curious whether or not